Café Anyway. What? Huh?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to FF episode 2751. It's Mike Matthews at Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
The last place on earth in America. Topica. It's Mike and I have to tell y'all. Jodie Foster turned down the role of Princess Leia years ago. Did you know she's 61 years old? Yes, apparently she was on Jimmy Fallon. She was offered
Mike's Daily Podcast.
the role of Princess Leia in the 1977 film Star Wars. And she passed on the role
Mike's
due to scheduling conflicts.
Daily
She said I was
Podcast.
doing a Disney movie,
Yeah.
and I guess that was Candle Shoe. Okay, I never saw that one. I saw just about every Disney movie in the 70s too, because I was just a little child, and my grandma, my wonderful, magnificent grandmother, would take me to the movies in the afternoon, the matinee. She loved matinees, and she loved taking me to Disney movies, because I loved going to Disney movies. But Candle Shoe is one I have no idea. I know Freaky Friday. I thought when she was referring there to a Disney movie, it was Freaky Friday, but no, it was Candle Shoe. So Jodie said they did an amazing job. I don't know how good I would have been. It might have been different hair, you know. I might have gone with a pineapple. Oh, instead of the cinnamon buns on either side of her head. So yeah, she's promoting that new True Detective thing she's in. Whenever I see clips of that, and it plays constantly when I try and watch a YouTube video. Whenever I see her, I think of Helen Hunt. I don't know why she reminds me of Helen Hunt these days, but good for her, Jodie Foster. She's had some amazing roles in her lifetime. There was that unfortunate movie.
And here's today's podcast picture.
She did with Mel Gibson, though, that I will not say the name of, but it had something to do with a puppet that looked like an animal, and there was ventriloquism involved. Not that there's anything wrong with ventriloquism. The podcast picture is not of a ventriloquist, but of the beautiful beach known as Maverick's Beach. And that is where, unfortunately, something rather tragic happened this week. Federal authorities struggled to give a clear answer to the question of how many people were on board a small plane that crashed actually on Sunday evening. The late great Basil the Boxer and I used to go. We went to this beach, Maverick's Beach, once, I think, for sure. Yeah, we almost went to it one time. It got really dark and we couldn't quite make. You got to walk a little ways to get to it. But another time we finally made it, and that's where the podcast picture comes from. See it at mikesdailypodcast.com. But the initial reports from the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office indicated that the two people were on board the Cozy MK4 Mach 4 plane, a four-seater, when it went down sometime after 7 p.m. The body of a woman who was believed to have been on the plane was found by a fishing crew the same day. Then the FAA on Tuesday posted a preliminary incident report online that indicated that two people had been aboard when the plane crashed, a pilot and a passenger. However, in response to questions then on Wednesday, the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, which had taken over the investigation, said repeatedly that the agency had received reports that 4 people were on board. This according to Mercury News. So that story continues. Wow.
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
NTSB received preliminary information subject to change that indicated the plane was carrying the pilot and 3 other people. However, please contact local authorities for any updates. An earlier statement from the same agency said it has no role in the release of the identities of accident victims and or the extent and number of injuries, nor does it release the identities of those injured or killed. That's handled by local authorities.
Mike's Matthews
Amusement park.
The front panel will close automatically. Please remain seated at all times.
What is this thing called Davros? Wait, Davros was the guy who led the Daleks in Doctor Who. 9 times out of 10, if I say anything like that, I get a blank stare. Because you know why? I live in California. People really, really do not care. But it is the World Economic Forum happening right now. Oh my gosh, the stuff that is going on. I was listening to No Agenda and the podcast there with, is it not Tim Curry, Adam Curry. Used to be on MTV years ago. It's like a total internet mogul, I guess you could probably say, in the world of podcasting and the like. But he was pointing out how there's so many of these rich people and people that from other countries like Sweden and Norway and Switzerland and France, etc., and nobody can speak English very well. And that there's all about the, we got to fight climate change. We got to fight Trump and all this interest. It's the Washington Post calls it the Davos elite. And they have to embrace AI. And they're calling the next, whatever the next big pandemic is, they're going to call it Disease X. Disease X. That's interesting. It's like, we'll just leave a bookmark for whatever the next disease is. We'll just call it Disease X. It's a thought experiment, not a real disease, it has been said. And according to AP News, as we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Anyway.
The last place on Earth. A panel of healthcare experts discussed Disease X at Davos, but it's only a hypothetical illness.
The Daily Haley. The almost Daily Haley.
A deadly contagion known as Disease X is emerging and under discussion at the World Economic Forum. AP's assessment is false. Disease X is not real. It is the name given to a hypothetical pathogen that is being used to help plan for future health crisis. Global healthcare experts this week spoke on a panel called Preparing for Disease X, and the guy that was talking, I think it was a World Health Organization, his accent was out of this world. And he wasn't even from this world. He was, does his X, like DUSZZ something. It was actually coined by the World Health Organization back in 2018. And, well, Mike, what else? What's been going on with you lately, Mike? Huh? Talk about yourself for a little bit. Donald Trump does it. Why not you? I know, but he's really good at it. I am not so much. But here's the thing is, wow. I'm getting a lot of this comment or something similar about people at work. Maybe this is happening at your job, about people who don't stay in their own lanes. Now, if somebody wanders outside of their lane and in the process makes your job a little bit easier, well, that's a good thing. That's fantastic. But when someone wanders outside of their lane and adds to your workload, they are doing a bad thing and they got to get slapped on the wrist, because that ain't good and it got to stop. Up in here, it really does. I mean, not here at Café Anyway. People here are pretty cool. and we'll say hi to some. Will you join me in saying hi to some? Okay, we'll do that. It is just, I'm noticing more and more. In fact, one of them, I didn't even notice it until someone just came out and said it. Hey, I might be wandering out of my own lane, but ... I'm like, oh, okay. And that's when I first started to notice, yeah, these guys wander outside of their own lane pretty regularly.
Mike's out of left field recordings.
Recording everything captures actions that will never again be repeated. Magnification.
Not retail seals. Or. They're wonderful retail seals. Are those the little plush seals that you can get at the retail, at the gift store or the seashore? Well, the point is, retail sales beat expectations. Americans are shopping is what I'm trying to say. Retail sales for December jumped past expectations, proving yet again that it is a bad idea to wager against American shoppers.
Ginormous.
Retail sales were up by almost a point, a full 1% in December. Almost there. A little half, almost to the way. Which, anyway, the point is above forecasts, and that was up from the prior month. I mean, I see that and I go, yeah, that's not dramatic. That looks like somebody needed to grab a story because they were going on live on television and they need to say something. But let's see, as I parse through what this person wrote, total sales for the holiday period, which covers October through December, they were actually up almost 4% from a year ago. So there you go. And that's not dramatic, but some of the biggest jumps in spending in December came from categories that could be used as gifts. So like sales at clothing stores, department stores, e-commerce stores, sales at restaurants and bars were unchanged, though, from the month prior. People just eating and hitting the bars about the same amount. Reflecting how people decided to spend more on goods, such as gifts, than on getting blotto. But on a yearly basis, food services and drinking places saw the biggest gains. Yes, from a year to year, from the previous year, food and drinking places, now not measuring from the previous month, but from the whole year, it's up 11%. Another sign we are coming out of this pandemic and from the last disease X. So on a year-over-year basis, retail sales ended up 5%.
The word of dog.
But e-commerce grocery sales dipped. So do you buy your lettuce, your tomatoes online? I applaud you, because I will not do that. I figure that it is a roadblock to getting anything fresh produce. No. Now there are those services that you pay for that take a chunk of money out of your bank every
we love you, Mike
month, and they're supposed to bring you fresh produce right from the farm, locally sourced, etc. Well, online grocery sales in the U.S. had a tough year last year. Kombucha. Though pickup provided a bright spot. E-commerce grocery brought in about $95 million in sales, but that was down about 1% from the previous year. The grocery segment's performance in 2023 struggles as the inflated food prices chipped away at household purchasing power. Yes, things are more expensive. At a 6% dip in monthly order frequency was the largest factor driving the sales decline. Because people, they're like finally looking and going, wow, am I really paying that much a month? Am I really using that? I think people might be getting smarter in that area, but it's only temporary because they'll be stupid again soon.
Marco Minute. The Marco Minute.
Pickup was the most popular of the three methods in 2023, with 46% of people just going and picking up, I guess, what they ordered at the supermarket. That's what they do. Order it, go and pick it up. Sales for pickup in 2023 held steady from the prior year It's at 44 billion, and delivery sales dropped to 35 billion, but that still increased that increased their share to 37%.
The cutting corners corner.
The cutting corners corner. It's not going away. The e-commerce for groceries. Oh, and Uber. Speaking of deliveries, Uber has shut down the alcohol delivery platform Drizzly.
You will travel into the incredible universe.
Shut it down actually by March. They bought it a couple years back 3 years ago for $1.1 billion when everyone was drinking at home during COVID. Remember how much drinking was happening and people were doing the Zoom calls? I mean, heck, they didn't need to hail a taxi or have somebody drive them home, have a designated driver. They were already home and they were getting drunk, which is not so good in that people were using alcohol to combat the anxiety they were feeling. But, well, at that time when everyone was buying alcohol, having it delivered to their doorsteps, Uber bought it. They bought it at the peak. That shows you how smart Uber is. They got issues. Didn't they have some guy running the place that was a misogynist jerk and he got kicked out eventually? And then Uber did that wonderful thing manipulating the California politics. Woo! And jumping into the proposition system that we have. We have all these propositions and they got one on the ballot that ended up making them more money because everyone voted for it because they were duped. And it made Uber way more money. And all the people that got duped.
The Fascinating Material Project.
Magnification.
Hey, kids. It's me.
And Apple took away Samsung's smartphone crown. Yes, for a while, Samsung had the smartphone crown. For the first time since 2010, Samsung does not sit atop the global smartphone shipment rankings. Apple topped Samsung last year.
Don't rate me the clown.
With 234 million mobile shipments. Samsung was under that with 226. So 234 versus 226 ain't that much of a difference, but still, they beat them. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in podcast. Recently, the temps were sub-zero overnight for 80% of the country. Not here, thankfully, but at Café Anyway. Tesla owners say that the EV batteries won't charge as brutally cold temperatures hit Chicago. That's another problem with Tesla.
A fine article.
You silly great fat article.
Davos convention thing. Everybody was talking down about X and how it eeks. They called it eeks. Eeks is so terrible. Eeks is there. Oh, this is completely bad. Is corrupting with disinformation. Everybody is with the eeks. So Tesla, Elon, and his whole thing is going through some hard times. But then they'll have some great times, and they'll have some hard times. It seems like the news, back and forth with Elon. Oh, and one last thing here. Since 1960, 4 of the biggest airplane carriers, and we call them carriers because they carry you to places like beautiful Florida or beautiful Podcaster Valley. Well, Delta, American, United, and Southwest, those 4 have collectively acquired 36 other airlines. So now those 4 airlines control 2/3 of domestic air travel. That is why whenever I'm booking anything, I always end up with Delta, it seems. Southwest I've gotten tired of because I always have to change planes. Delta, I don't have to change planes as much. So a judge recently blocked the JetBlue Spirit merger. Everybody else can merge or buy things, but not JetBlue Spirit. So all that discovered, found, and written about by Rob Black. I produce his podcast, The Rob Black Show. And he does a live show on the radio in the Bay Area on AM 1220 KDOW weekday mornings. And he's on the TV on Kron Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. And yes, we are outside of Café Anyway. Look who is here. Hello, Michael Mash. It's Madame Rootabega. That was bizarre what you just did there, Madam. Do you like if do you mind if I ask you a question? Yes. Do you like it when I stutter and I can't think of a question? Yes. Are you going to tell me your first name? No. Oh man, I bet it's Edna. Maybe. But just call me Madame Rootabega. Is it Moira? No. Is it Claire? Maybe. Is it Chuckles? Maybe. Ooh. Okay. Well, thank you, Madame Rootabega. It was a pleasure talking to you. Michael Master, I always enjoy talking to you. And it's very funny when you do the accents of the people talking in the Davros. Ooh. I think it's Davos, but I keep thinking of the Daleks leader, Davros. And exterminate! Look who else is here. Oh, Mike, this is Floyd the Floorman! And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, you have to watch a whole lot more South Park, and your life will be complete. I was talking to someone today who's a little bit older than me, telling him, I stopped watching South Park probably about the time they came out with the big movie. And then I was just so oversaturated with South Park, and then I canceled my cable, and I stopped watching, so no more Comedy Central to watch South Park, and I just drifted away. And he goes, oh, no, you left right at the best time. It got better and better. He is like a huge fan of South Park. He says the writing got so much better, and the endings, every ending of the episodes there were much more profound. So I might actually try and watch a South Park, a more recent one, and see how that goes. What do you think? What do you think I should do? Just tell me what. You can call this number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with more suggestions, if you have a suggestion for Madame Rootabega's first name, or if you'd like to suggest maybe a good restaurant that I should spend all my money at other than Café Anyway, any of your suggestions. You can also reach me at these other things and these other tings. Ting Tings. That was a great band. Where did they go? Other tings with that. It's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye!